The Choices We Make by Monochromatic. Every Friday, from 5 in the afternoon to 11 at night, Pinkie Pie does volunteer work. She doesn't have to do it. The world won't stop if she doesn't, but she chooses to do it anyway, even if it's doing seemingly insignificant little things. After all, the best ways to help aren't always with grand gestures, but with the little things in life. Chapter 1. And Those That We Don't. The Choices We Make by Monochromatic. Every Friday, from 5 in the afternoon to 11 at night, Pinkie Pie did volunteer work. It wasn't anything special, but she loved doing it anyway. She liked to help. 3 girls waited by their school exit, as students often did when classes had ended for the week. The chatter of adolescents on the cusp of adulthood filled the air, every single one of them preoccupied with one of the most crucial details of their lives: what to do during the weekend. Personally, said Rarity, leaning against the railing of the stairs as she inspected her manicure, I think we should go to the mall. They're having a summer sale at the Haute Couture, and I'd really like to get an early and affordable start on her outfits for the next concert. Sitting on the stairs, Pinkie Pie did not reply. Not because she didn't want to, though. Rarity was always thinking of helping them all be super fashionable, and Pinkie appreciated it more than... well, she was going to say more than words can express, but she was pretty sure she could come up with a whole bunch of words if she really sat down and thought about it. But that day, as it happened every Friday, she had other things occupying her mind, and so she stared into the little notebook on her lap. The mall? Rarity, we always go to the mall, Rainbow Dash complained, bouncing a soccer ball on her foot. She kicked it against a nearby wall, caught it when it rebounded towards her, and then turned to her friend with a huff. I'm picking today, and we're going somewhere better than the mall. Different. The words had come out of Pinkie's mouth unbidden, a thought voiced. She often did that, as she believed thoughts were meant to be shared. Rainbow nestled the ball under her arm and raised an eyebrow. Huh? It's not better than the mall, she replied, turning the page of her notebook. It's just different. Don't do things better. Do them differently. Yes, exactly. See, Rainbow Dash? Is it hard to be polite? Rarity replied, brushing a hand through her hair. I wasn't being rude, Rainbow protested. The mall's fine and all, but I'm bored of it. She tossed the ball towards Rarity and grinned when she caught it. Sorry, Rares. Didn't mean to call your dumb mall lame. Rarity giggled. Such lies! I can't wait to see your nose start to grow, she shot back, throwing the ball over to its owner. She then turned to Pinkie and crossed her arms. Did you come up with that, Pinkie? I might steal it. Nope. It was my boss at the center, she explained, looking up. Telling others to do things better is telling them what they were doing wasn't good enough. And that's silly, because you don't know if they were trying their best. But telling them to do things differently won't make them feel like they weren't trying their best. You can't do better. You can do differently. She looked back down at her notebook. She calls it positive thinking. Rarity hummed. Yes, I see her point. Though I don't believe a mall cares very much if there are other places better than it, darling. Wait, Pinkie! Rainbow exclaimed. You're not hanging out with us? Again? Come on, it's been probably 2 years since you last did anything with us on a Friday. What? That is so not true, Pinkie protested. It wasn't. Or was it? Rainbow is right, Rarity said, earning a satisfied humph from Rainbow. What with those extracurricular psychology classes, and now your volunteer work, spending time with you on Fridays is rarer than a sale on Arabian soap. And that's why we hang out on Saturdays, Pinkie offered, jumping up to a standing position and closing her notebook. 'Cause I gotta go now. Mrs. Cake is waiting for me. You're leaving already? Come on, Pinks. Can't you cancel for once? Rainbow insisted. It's not like it's gonna kill them if you miss one day. Pinkie blinked at her. Rainbow, she said carefully, and the severity in her tone was enough for the teen in question to step away. Suddenly, Pinkie puffed out her cheeks and crossed her arms. I can't do that. They're counting on me, and I want to help, silly. Fine, fine. Rainbow relented, tossing the soccer ball into the air and catching it. I can see it's important to you. Guess I'll just have to deal with hanging out with Rarity until the others get here. She playfully stuck her tongue out at her friend. You. Rarity fluttered her eyelashes. I love you too, Rainbow. Pinkie giggled, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. And I love you too. Do you have everything, dearie? Inside Sugar Cube Corner, Mrs. Cake ambled into the kitchen, carrying with her a tray filled with an assortment of mouth-watering pastry delicacies. Though Pinkie was supposed to work Monday through Friday at Sugar Cube Corner, she was super-duper lucky her boss allowed her to take Fridays off, on condition she take Saturday morning shifts. It also helped that Mrs. Cake approved of her volunteering. Yeppery! Pinkie exclaimed, carefully tying together 2 boxes filled with cupcakes, brownies, cookies, and more. I stopped by the shop to buy supplies, plus that really vanilla-y coffee everyone likes. I even found the decaf one for fireside chat. And you didn't forget to pack the green tea muffin for Oolong? Mrs. Cake asked, putting the tray down and taking a 3rd box of pastries. I made it especially for her. I won't have her complaining we forgot about her again. I didn't. She'll be really happy. You'll see. She took the 2 boxes and followed Mrs. Cake through the back door entrance, watching as her boss loaded the box onto the delivery bicycle. Once she'd done the same with her own boxes, she got onto the bike and bid farewell to her boss, promising to bring the bike back later that night. The center she worked at wasn't very big. There were others, of course, and a large one in the city, but the one she worked at was small and homey and local. It was 15 minutes away from Sugar Cube Corner, which made it easy to bring her pastries. Upon arriving, she wheeled her bike over to the little storage they'd reserved for her, and then took the boxes of supplies. Seen from the outside, the center looked just like any office building. It had a clean white exterior, large square windows, and the only detail that stood out were the large Band-Aid hearts she'd painted on the wall on either side of the door. The front desk was manned by Honeydew Drops. She was an older woman with blonde hair tied in a bun and green eyes, often squinting at newcomers from behind her pince-nez red glasses. She had a basket of lollipops she kept under her desk, which she offered to everyone that came in. If they seemed too thin for her taste, she'd offer 3 lollipops. She gave everyone 3 lollipops. Honeydew's favorite cupcake, by the way, was lavender mint. Pinkie knew everyone's favorite cupcake, without exception. After accepting her 5 weekly lollipops and insisting that, yes, Honeydew, she is eating 3 full meals a day, she just has a fast metabolism, Pinkie opened the office doors and walked into what can only be described as a call center. Soft-spoken voices rose into the air like rhythmic lullabies. She called it the sound of hope. Pinkie! Pinkie turned around and found a young woman flagging her down from one of the many desks. Oolong! Pinkie called, not too loud, going over to her friend. Oolong wasn't much older than Pinkie. She was 23 and had a degree in psychology. Her headset had been decorated with a wide variety of stickers from some show she liked, and so did they decorate the majority of her desk. Aren't you a sight for hungry tummies? Oolong said, smiling at her friend. She was very soft-spoken when she talked, like a mother to a child. She looked to the sides in a conspiratorial fashion and whispered, Did you bring it? Pinkie lowered her voice. The green tea muffin that's in my box? Yes! Atta girl, Mrs. Cake, Oolong exclaimed, rubbing her hands together and smacking her lips when Pinkie retrieved a green muffin from inside the topmost box. How's your shift going? Pinkie asked, and watching as Oolong devoured the pastry. You doing okay? Oolong nodded. I'm doing fine. Had a difficult call this morning, but one of my casuals called earlier and said she liked the movie I recommended. I did get a prank call, though. Some kid. I could hear his friends laughing in the background. She licked her lips, stopped laughing when I read their number back to them, and asked them if this was the right number to give to the police. Pinkie giggled. Meanie, but they kinda deserve it. She then paused and fidgeted with the strings of her boxes. And no, you know, gross calls, right? No pervs today, no, she said with relief. If that got... A ringing noise interrupted her. The same ringing noise that shot out throughout the room in uneven intervals. Months ago, when she was training, someone had called it the ringing of the hopeless. She called it the ringing of the fighters. Oolong smiled. Thanks for the cupcake, Pinkie. She put on the headset, smiled kindly, and spoke up to whoever was on the line. Hi. Thank you for reaching out to Ponyville's Crisis Lifeline. My name is Oolong, and I'm here to help you. Suicide was not a concept Pinkie fully understood. Even as she walked away from Oolong's desk, even as she quietly made her way down the hallway of desks and people fighting for others' lives, it was something she could not fully grasp, despite her 2 months working at the crisis center. Her eyes roamed the walls, as they always did, imprinting in her the seemingly vacuous motivational lines that could make a difference between life and death. Your life matters. You are strong. You are brave. You are worth it. You have a choice. She walked towards the end of the room, past the operators, and only occasionally stopping by to talk with the few that were available. When she reached the other side, she saw her desk near the corner and near a window, as she'd politely requested. Pinkie didn't take calls. Not only did her supervisors say she wasn't ready, she herself was not sure she could handle such a task. So instead, she helped those who could. She put down her boxes and backpack on her desk, took a moment to straighten the picture frame of her friends and the one of her coworkers at the annual luncheon, and then got to work on her checklist. She called it the HAPPY list. Truthfully, the acronym didn't actually stand for anything. She just always thought that acronyms were fun, and she thought it would make Twilight proud. The best thing she'd ever managed to come up for it was heartfelt actions purely for people to yay. She'd tried her best, honest. Anyway, she wasn't a therapist. A year of training would never be nearly enough for that. She didn't listen to or know what her coworkers talked about when they went into Dr. Quiet Resolve's office. Not to say they didn't talk to her. They did, sometimes, about their lives and trivial details, but never about work. She knew it was because discretion was vital, but she wondered if it was because they didn't want to burden her. In every room, next to every wall, and taking up the space of a whole table in the kitchen, Pinkie helped by keeping everyone happy. She made sure that the refrigerator was stocked with snacks and healthy foods, that there was always coffee and tea available, and that everyone had their favorite cupcake, save for Silvertongue, who was on a diet and instead got sugar-free cookies Pinkie bought at the market. It was hard to wrap her head around suicide. It was hard even to wrap her head around depression. She understood being sad, feeling lonely, but it was hard for her to see people being constantly sad when she knew they were wonderful. One time, a once dear friend of hers had been very sad for a very long time. They'd been talking in Sugar Cube Corner, and so her friend had stormed off in a teary huff after Pinkie had advised her to just try to be happy, don't be sad. She had said Pinkie didn't understand, and so she took her psychology extracurriculars and volunteered so she could try to understand, or try to help at least. Any help was good help, if she said so herself. And she did say so. She just had to try in a different way. Cleaning was Pinkie's first duty, since Miss Featherduster left early on Fridays, and a clean office was a happy office. She took out the trash, refilled everyone's water bottles, and made sure the windows were clean and sunlight filtered properly into the room. Little things, little details. Dr. Resolve said those were the ones that mattered when trying to help a friend. A droplet of rain can feel like a hurricane when you're sad. After cleaning was done, so came the rounds. The rounds were an important part of the day. She would linger in disturb-free zones, as she called them, and wait until operators were off calls to super discreetly walk by and see if they needed anything. Usually they didn't, and for the first month, Pinkie wondered if it was silly of her to keep asking and make sure they needed anything, even if they looked okay. She then stopped for a day, and what a surprise when everyone kept asking where she'd gone. Boy, was she happy that day. You're like a cat, Soft Down giggled, gratefully accepting the water bottle Pinkie brought her as soon as she finished the first. She opened it, took a big gulp, and continued, "Just waiting for a chance, and then you pounce." "Dehydration is no joke, silly," Pinkie exclaimed. "Who's going to fill your water bottles if I don't?" Oh, this one's empty. Shoot. "Tell that to Fireside," a co-worker behind her spoke up, leaning away from his desk and grinning. "He always brings his massive soda bottle, and you still pester him with a water bottle every day. You know he's never going to say yes to drinking water, right?" Pinkie crossed her arms. "I know, but it shows that I care," she protested, sticking her tongue out at him. "Just because a good friend says no several times when you ask him to come hang out doesn't mean you stop inviting him." Soft Down let out a delighted laugh. "Ha! Schooled by the intern. How does that feel like, Wendy?" Yeah, he playfully grumbled, turning back to his computer. After she was done with her rounds, and everyone had their cupcakes and water bottles, she finally tasked herself with the most important part of the day, even more important than the rounds, the quiet room. She liked the quiet room. It had some chairs and mattresses, and it was there where her friends went after a difficult call or when they needed time to think. Dr. Resolve told her they had similar rooms in other crisis centers, like the Emergency Dispatch Center.